It was a blistering hot afternoon in the summer of 2023 when a group of construction workers began excavating land for a new suburban development just outside Denton, Texas. The area had been abandoned for decades. Dry grass, twisted barbed wire, and half-collapsed barns scattered across the property like bones of a forgotten past. Around midday, one of the excavators hit something solid beneath 13 feet of packed clay. The sound was sharp and metallic, not like stone or pipe. Curious, the crew stopped their machines and began clearing away the dirt by hand. As the dust settled, they could see the faint curve of a car's roofline emerging from the earth, its faded blue paint glinting dully under the sun. Nobody could understand how a car ended up that deep underground. When the sheriff's department arrived, the site had drawn a small crowd. Workers, neighbors, and even a few thrill seekers with their phones out, whispering rumors. The deputies ordered the area sealed off and called for forensic experts from the county. Hours passed as teams carefully brushed away layer after layer of dirt until the full shape of the vehicle came into view. A 1950 Ford Coupe, remarkably preserved considering its time underground. Its headlights were clouded over, the chrome dulled by decades of soil, and its windows were cracked but still intact. When they finally pried open the driver's side door, a foul, stagnant air escaped. A smell of rust, mold, and something unmistakably organic. Inside the driver's seat, slumped forward over the wheel, were human remains, skeletal, fragile, yet eerily well positioned, as though the driver had simply fallen asleep there and never woken up. The officers found a leather purse wedged between the seat and the console. Inside, time had frozen a half-used tube of red lipstick, a faded movie stub dated March 16, 1951, and a driver's license belonging to Dorothy Jean Miller. The name sent a shiver through the sheriff's team. It was a name known in Denton's old police records. The missing girl from over 70 years ago. Someone whispered, "That's her, that's the girl who vanished." As news spread, the old ranch, once forgotten by time, became the center of a mystery that would grip Texas once again. But the deeper investigators dug, the more they realized this car wasn't just buried by accident. Someone had gone to great lengths to make sure it would never be found. Dorothy Jean Miller wasn't just another face in the crowd of post-war Texas. She was young, full of promise, and known for her bright smile at Marty's Diner, where she worked the late shift serving coffee to oil field workers and truck drivers passing through Denton. Everyone liked Dorothy, polite, cheerful, and ambitious. She often talked about leaving the small town to chase bigger dreams in Dallas, where she'd recently been offered a job as a secretary at an insurance firm. But on the night of March 16, 1951, Dorothy clocked out from her shift, waved goodbye to her coworkers, and drove off in her sky blue Ford Coupe. It was a stormy night, the kind where thunder rolled across the plains and the wind howled through the mesquite trees. She never made it home. By morning, her car was missing, and Dorothy, the girl everyone loved, was gone. The local police launched a search, combing the rural backroads and creeks for any sign of her vehicle. Flyers went up all over town, her picture smiling from every lamppost. Brown curls, red lipstick, and a pair of pearl earrings her mother had given her. For weeks, they searched the lakes, barns, and even the old quarries, but nothing surfaced. Some claimed they'd seen her car heading toward the Keller ranch that night. Others swore they heard a woman screaming near the old cattle pens, but every lead turned cold. Theories began to spread like wildfire. That she'd run away with a married man, that she'd been kidnapped, or even that her car had gone off one of the unmarked ravines and sunk deep into the mud. But nothing ever proved true. The case slowly faded from the front page of the Denton Chronicle to a whispered town legend, until it became just another ghost story parents told their kids. As the years passed, the story of Dorothy Miller transformed into something almost supernatural. Locals swore that on stormy nights, the kind of nights when the wind carried a low hum across the fields, they'd see the faint glow of headlights drifting along the dirt road leading toward the old ranch. The lights would move slowly, disappear behind the tree line, and never reappear. Teenagers who dared to sneak out there claimed they could hear music, faint static from an old car radio playing a love song from the 50s. But when they approached, the sound would stop. No tracks, no car, no sign of life. Just silence. Dorothy had vanished into the Texas night, but her story, her presence, refused to die. And now, with her car unearthed decades later, that silence was finally breaking. The Keller Ranch had once been one of the most respected and prosperous properties in northern Texas. In the 1940s, it stretched over thousands of acres, rows of barbed wire fences, dusty cattle trails, and a sprawling farmhouse that overlooked the land like a sentinel. But behind its proud reputation, the ranch carried whispers of something darker. Old-timers in Denton still remembered Samuel Keller, the patriarch of the family, as a man of iron, strict, ruthless, and known for his temper. He had two sons, Robert, the quiet, obedient one who stayed close to his father's side, and Eli Keller, the younger and wilder one, always seen drinking, gambling, and chasing women in town. Dorothy, who worked at the diner, often served Eli coffee late at night. Some of her friends later admitted she'd been seeing him secretly, even though everyone knew Samuel Keller would have never approved. According to those who knew her, Dorothy had told a close friend that she and Eli planned to leave Texas together, start fresh somewhere far away from his father's shadow. But something changed in the weeks before she disappeared. She became distant, nervous. Coworkers noticed her glancing out the diner windows as if afraid someone was watching. One of them, an older waitress named Millie, told police that a black pickup truck had been parked outside several nights in a row, just idling across the street. Nobody could ever confirm who was inside. When Dorothy vanished, people's eyes turned to Eli, but he claimed he hadn't seen her in days. Not long after, Eli left town suddenly, telling his family he was heading to California for work. He was never seen in Denton again. Decades later, when investigators reopened the case after the car was found, they discovered something deeply unsettling in the old county records. The section of the Keller Ranch where Dorothy's Ford was buried had once been the site of a large wooden shed, part workshop, part storage space. The structure was demolished in 1953, 2 years after Dorothy's disappearance, and never rebuilt. The new soil that covered the area came from another part of the ranch, freshly dug and compacted, just enough to disguise the ground as untouched. That detail changed everything. Whoever buried Dorothy hadn't done it in panic. It was methodical, deliberate. The timing lined up eerily with the ranch's financial troubles and Samuel Keller's bankruptcy. Some began to wonder if Dorothy had known something she wasn't supposed to, something the Kellers needed to erase forever. When the forensic team began combing through Dorothy's Ford Coupe, They expected time to have erased nearly every trace of evidence. But instead, they found details that defied explanation. Despite being buried for over 70 years, several items inside the car remained disturbingly intact. The seat fabric was still faintly blue beneath the dirt, the dashboard clock frozen at 11:47 p.m., and the car keys still dangling from the ignition. But it was what they discovered in the glove compartment that left everyone speechless. Inside, sealed in a small brown envelope with a wax seal, was an old black and white photograph. Dorothy standing beside her Ford, smiling shyly at the camera. Beside her stood a man in a cowboy hat, tall, his hand resting on her shoulder. His face, however, had been aggressively scratched out, leaving only the faint outline of his grin visible. Scrawled on the back, barely legible, were 3 chilling words. He said forever. When investigators sent the photo for digital enhancement, the results sent a chill through the entire department. Under layers of scratches, the name E. Keller could be faintly read on the man's shirt pocket, confirming that the figure beside Dorothy was Eli Keller, the very man who had vanished after her disappearance. Even stranger, under ultraviolet light, faint impressions of another handwriting appeared on the envelope, possibly written in pencil and later erased. The words read, "I didn't mean to." The team also found fingerprints on the inside of the driver's window, but what made no sense was that the fingerprints belonged to 2 different people. Dorothy's right hand, pressed from the inside, and a second, unidentified print facing inward, as if someone outside had touched the glass before the car was buried. No match was ever found in the national database. But the most disturbing discovery came when geologists examined the soil that had surrounded the vehicle. They noticed that the clay packed around the Ford was from a different part of the property. Soil taken from a drainage ditch nearly a mile away. That meant the car hadn't simply sunk or been buried once, it had been moved. The analysis revealed that the dirt layers were disrupted twice. Once likely in 1951, the year Dorothy vanished, and again roughly 2 years later. Someone had returned to the burial site, dug the car up, and buried it again much deeper. But why? Was someone afraid the car would be found? Or were they trying to hide something newly added inside it? The deeper the investigation went, the clearer it became. Someone wanted Dorothy to stay hidden, and they had made sure of it. After the car's discovery, the once forgotten ranch quickly turned into a magnet for curiosity seekers and paranormal investigators. Reporters from all over Texas flooded the dusty backroads leading to the site, hoping to capture a glimpse of the unearthed Ford before authorities sealed it away. Within weeks, the area was fenced off for safety. But that didn't stop locals from sneaking in after dark. That's when the strange things began. One night, a group of college students from Denton claimed they saw 2 faint headlights glowing from the empty pit where the Ford had been pulled out. They described it as if an invisible car was idling underground, the lights flickering through the soil. When one of them approached, the glow vanished instantly, and the ground vibrated beneath their feet like an engine trying to start. The group fled, terrified, but when they returned the next day with police, there were fresh tire marks in the mud, even though no vehicle had been there since the excavation. Local deputies dismissed the stories at first, until 2 of their own officers experienced something eerily similar. During a late night patrol, the officers reported hearing an engine idling near the fenced-off pit. The sound was faint but steady, echoing through the still air. As they approached, the temperature dropped sharply, their radios filled with static, and their flashlights began flickering uncontrollably. One of the officers, Deputy Riley, later testified that he heard a woman's voice whisper directly through his radio, low, trembling, and unmistakably human, saying, "Don't let him bury me again." His partner claimed he saw the outline of a car door closing in the darkness, though no car was visible. The following morning, both men were taken off duty for psychological evaluation, but the department quietly stopped night patrols in that area altogether. As rumors spread, paranormal investigators from across the country came to Denton armed with EMF detectors, cameras, and voice recorders. Some claimed their equipment malfunctioned the moment they stepped onto the ranch. Batteries drained instantly, lenses fogged up, and microphones captured faint whispers even when no one spoke. One recording, played live on a local radio show, contained what sounded like a woman humming an old 950s tune, followed by the faint click of a car ignition. But the most disturbing part came at the end of the audio, a whisper, barely audible, saying, "He's still here." To this day, even after the area was declared off limits and sealed by the county, locals swear that on certain nights, when the Texas wind moves through the mesquite trees just right, you can still hear the low rumble of an engine starting beneath the earth and the faint beam of headlights sweeping across the empty field, as if Dorothy's Ford was still trying to find its way home. So what really happened that stormy night in 1951? Was Dorothy Miller's death a tragic accident, buried beneath the lies of a powerful Texas family, or something far more unexplainable, something that refused to stay buried? The Keller Ranch has since become a ghost on the map, its land overgrown and silent, yet no one dares to build there again. Even the developers who first unearthed Dorothy's Ford backed out of their project without warning, claiming equipment malfunctions and bad soil. But those who live nearby whisper another reason, that every time they tried to break ground again, the engines of their machines would stall, and a woman's voice could be heard calling softly from the wind. 72 years later, the truth remains tangled between history and horror. Maybe Dorothy's story is a reminder that the past never stays buried, that no matter how deep we hide our secrets, the earth has a way of giving them back. And perhaps on quiet nights, when the Texas moon hangs low over the old ranch, she's still out there, behind the wheel of her blue Ford Coupe, driving the same road she never finished, headlights cutting through the dark, forever searching for a way home.
If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Most importantly, subscribe and hit the bell icon so the next secret finds you first.